This is the Crimson Corner with Bill Riley.
Walks it into the end zone for a Utah touchdown.
Your source for the best insight on everything happening in and around Utah athletics. Now, here's the host of the Crimson Corner, the voice of the Utes, Bill Riley.
Well, hello, everybody, and Utes fans. Welcome in. It's episode number 1, a brand new project for me. It's the Crimson Corner. I'm Bill Riley, the play-by-play voice of the University of Utah, and I have been jonesing to get back behind the mic ever since I left the radio on a regular basis to talk to you guys. And we're going to do this every single week. Crimson Corner is going to be about Utah athletics and, stuff pertaining to the Big 12 and things of that nature. But we're going to talk a lot of Utah football on our first episode here with the football season kicking off this week and everything else that's going on the Hill with the University of Utah with athletics, whether it's volleyball or soccer or cross country. But our big focus today on the premiere edition of Crimson Corner is going to be football, because football season is back and all is right with the world. I cannot wait to get to Southern California coming up on Saturday night to see the Utes and an old friend of ours, the UCLA Bruins. We've had so many great memories over the years in that building. Mostly good, some crazy, some not so great, but we're going to talk about it today on the program. We're going to have a special guest joining us on the Crimson Corner today, Wayne Cook, who's an old friend of mine. He's a former UCLA quarterback. He's part of the radio broadcast team, and he's going to give us a little insight on the second year of Deshaun Foster and what's going on with the UCLA Bruins. So we'll talk to Wayne Cook on the program, and then, like I said, it's going to be a busy week for University of Utah athletics as well. Not just football kicking off at UCLA at the Rose Bowl, but got a lot of other things going on. We'll run some of that stuff down as well. But it's great to be with you, and we're going to do this every single week, and we'll love to get feedback from you as well. You guys can drop me a note. It's briley@huntsman.utah.edu. Suggestions for the podcast, anything you'd like to hear. I am here for you, but we're calling it Crimson Corner, and that's what it's going to be. A lot of what's going on with Utah athletics right here with me, the voice of the Utes, each and every week. So coming up, we'll talk a little bit about the matchup, what Utah looked like coming out of fall camp, game keys, players to watch, all that good stuff before we welcome Wayne Cook in and then talk about some of the other stuff going on campus. So it's Saturday night at the Rose Bowl down in Southern California. You better take your power nap because it's a late start. It's 9 p.m. start time. It's on Big Fox, and, of course, you can also catch it on our flagship radio home, ESPN 700. Myself, Scott Mitchell, Stevenson Sylvester, back for another year, bringing you the games, but it is a late-night game. It's 8 o'clock local, 9 o'clock down there, or here in Salt Lake City. And, it's a matchup against the Bruins. And we don't know a lot about this UCLA team, and we'll get to them coming in, but we know a lot about this Utah team. By the way, Utah went 8-4 against UCLA in the Pac-12 era. Last time they met was 2 years ago, the final year of the Pac-12 before they joined the Big 12. Utah beat UCLA over Rice-Eccles Stadium 14-7. You remember that? That was kind of a physical, defensive-minded game that day. Utah gave Dante Moore, that freshman quarterback, all kinds of trouble. I think they sacked him 6 or 7 times that day. That was the last time these two teams met. The last time Utah was at the Rose Bowl to face UCLA was that game where DTR, Zach Charbonnet, Mike Bobo, that entire team, they went crazy. It was Utah's final Rose Bowl year where they lost to Penn State eventually, but they got beat at the Rose Bowl that day, 42-32. And that was the day that Charbonnet went for almost 200 yards. So not great memories against the Bruins last time down there. But I will say this. One of my favorite non-Rose Bowl game memories of the Rose Bowl. When I say the Rose Bowl game, I mean the one on New Year's Day. The one where Utah played Ohio State or Utah played Penn State. My non-Rose Bowl game favorite memory, and one of my favorite games I've ever called, was the 2016 game. Remember when Joe Williams went absolutely crazy? 332 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns. Utah, and the game itself was bonkers too. Utah won that game 52-45 that day. But it's still, to this day, Joe Williams ran for more yards in that game than anybody's ever run for in the history of the Rose Bowl. Whether it's the Rose Bowl game or just a normal game. Think of all the great running backs in the history of college football that have played in the Rose Bowl. And nobody ever ran for more yards than Joe Williams did that day. Utah got a 7-point win, won 52-45, and Joe had 332 yards. So I hope we have something like that with the offensive line we've got this year at the University of Utah. It could be a big day on the ground. We'll get to that coming up. 332 yards, though, is a lot of yards. Utah comes into the opener this week in really good shape. As Kyle Whittingham has said repeatedly, they had no major injuries in fall camp. And that's about the best you can hope for at a fall camp. You could talk about position battles, and we'll talk about some positions to keep an eye on that I'm curious to see in game action. But Utah, from a health standpoint, came out of fall camp in really, really good shape. And I'll say this, too. I was around this team all spring long, and I've been around this team all fall long. The vibes are high. The energy is good with this Utah football team. It started in the spring. I think some of it is Kyle Whittingham returning. Remember, there was the uncertainty at the end of last year. Would Coach Witt come back and coach again? Would he not? Obviously, he decided to come back. And he added some coaches, changed things up on the offensive side, adding Jason Beck, adding Mark Otuwaya, adding Micah Simon, and some other support staff as well on the offensive side of the football. And I'm just telling you right now, we saw it in the spring. We've seen it in fall camp. There's a real good buzz and energy around this Utah football team. It started in the spring, and it's continued on here into the fall as well. And I'll tell you what's impressed me the most, and I go out to practice, 2-3 times a week, has been the consistency. And I'll say this, most of the years, Kyle Whittingham football teams are consistent. Most times, the University of Utah is they run the program a lot like an NFL model. That's just how Kyle does it, and he's had this going for a number of years. But the last couple of years, there have been questions at the quarterback position. And whenever you have questions at the quarterback position, whether it's somebody coming back from injury or a position battle, things are a little bit unsettled. That's not been the case this fall. It's been consistent from the spring all the way through the summer, even integrating some of the new faces, especially on the offensive side of the football. I'm just saying this right now. The off-season vibes, the fall camp vibes, remind me a lot of 21 and 22, when this team had a lot of expectation on it. Now, those were preseason years in the Pac-12 where they were supposed to win or contend for it. I don't know that Utah's an overwhelming favorite to win the Big 12 this year, because I think the Big 12 is pretty wide open. But Utah's in that conversation. But what I'm telling you is the feel around this team, very professional, very workmanlike, very high energy. It's giving me those same kind of feels I got in 21 and 22. And I'll tell you a big reason for that. In those years, Cam Rising was unquestionably the starting quarterback. Well, on this team, Devin Dampier is unquestionably the starting quarterback. And while they're kind of different guys, meaning the way they play football, what is very similar between Dampier and Rising is the way their teammates take to them, the way their teammates really are drawn to them. Cam was one of those magnet guys that could walk into any position room and his teammates loved him. Dampier's got that same energy about him, too. A little bit younger, doesn't have quite the experience Cam did, but he has that same type of aura and magnetism. Big personality guy and leads by example, but he's right there with all of his teammates. So we'll see how that plays out on the field beginning Saturday night against UCLA. But I'm just telling you right now, there's a really good vibe about this football team right now. Area I'm probably most intrigued to watch Saturday night. There's two of them, but the one I'm probably most intrigued might not be the one you're thinking. I know a lot of you are saying wide receiver. Who's going to be our wide receivers? We'll get to that in a second. I'm probably most intrigued about the defensive line. Utah's defensive lines are always good. Rinse, wash, repeat. Kyle Whittingham, whether it's Luther Ellis or Lewis Powell, whatever. The defensive line play is always good. But this year, there's not a lot of experience. Ton of talent. They love the talent on this team, but it doesn't have the experience outside of maybe a guy like Logan Fano, who's, by the way, back, pre-injury form, the whole thing. He looks fantastic. But they've talked up a lot of these guys like Poo and Carson Kafusi and Cash Dillon. And there's a lot of guys that have a lot of talent that are younger, freshmen, redshirt freshmen, sophomores on this team. And when Utah plays, they like to roll 6, 7, 8 linemen through to keep those guys fresh. I'm really curious to see, because if they live up to some of the hype and some of the expectation, this could be a really good, young, talented line. And the other thing is, when the front four for Utah is good, you don't have to get exotic behind it. If you can get pressure rushing 4 and get up the field rushing 4, it allows those guys behind them to play really well. So There's a lot of names, and we've talked about a lot of names in fall camp. I just mentioned some of them. But I want to see how that defensive line fares. Now, they're going to be playing a UCLA team that had to rebuild their offensive line, so that could be a big advantage in game one. But that, for me, is the most intriguing position group to keep an eye on coming up on Saturday night. The second most is obviously wide receiver, and we've talked about it. I know there was a lot of angst among Utah fans, and there were some questions, frankly, on the coaching staff just coming out of spring. Who would be those guys? I think they felt like there was a lot of talent in that room, but you've got to go out on the field and prove it. Well, they added 2 guys in the spring. You've heard their names, Tobias Merriweather, Larry Simmons. One came in from Cal, one came in from Southern Miss. Both those guys have had terrific fall camps. I would expect them to be a big part of the pass game beginning on Saturday night against UCLA. A couple of other guys that I've noted, and I think they've got their top 7 guys. What I'm interested to see is in what order do those 7 play? Because I think I can name the 7 guys, but what order do those 7 guys get on the field and have the rotation? And a lot of that has to do with, do you catch the ball when it's thrown to you? Do you run the right routes? They've looked good in fall camp. Keep an eye on a couple of other guys, too. Ryan Davis, and I mentioned Ryan Davis. He didn't get a lot of talk coming out of spring, but Davis played with Dampier and Jason Beck a year ago. He caught 54 passes for New Mexico, so he and Devin Dampier already have a relationship set. Ryan's not a super big guy, but he's very good. And Creed Whittemore, the transfer from Mississippi State, he had a good fall camp too. Like I said, 6, 7 guys are in the mix there in the wide receiver room. So I think there's going to be guys. But it's one thing to see it in fall camp and in practice. Let's see how it comes out on the field on Saturday night against UCLA. As far as the Bruins go, I mentioned second-year head coach Deshaun Foster. They were 5-7 a year ago. Got off to a terrible start. Finished okay. Finished 4-2 in their last 6 games. But here's the thing. Foster's first year, he's a UCLA guy. He's been on staff before. He's coached a lot of the good running backs they've had in recent years, like Charbonnet and Josh Kelly and some of the others. He only returns 3 coaches from his staff. He basically changed his entire coaching staff over, and he brought in a new offensive coordinator by the name of Tino Sunseri. And we'll talk a little bit about Tino coming up when we talk to Wayne Cook, the color analyst and former quarterback for UCLA, in just a minute here at Crimson Corner. But it's almost an entirely new coaching staff. The guy that got a lot of attention in the offseason was the quarterback, Nico Iamaleava. All the things that went on with him at Tennessee, all the drama that was there, he came back home. By all accounts, people I've talked to that cover the team, people around the team, he's had a very good fall camp. It's his job. There's nobody else there. And then you've got a couple of other former Utes that are weapons for Iamaleava. Mikey Matthews. You remember Mikey Matthews a couple of years ago? Mikey transferred out after his freshman year, went to Cal for a year. Now he's at UCLA. So he'll be catching passes against the Utes on Saturday night. And Anthony Woods. Some of you might recognize that name. Anthony Woods was on Utah's roster a year ago. He was the All-American running back from Idaho, but he never played because he had a knee issue he was dealing with a year ago. Well, he got healthy and then transferred. He's a Southern California kid, so he got closer to home. He'll be one of the tailbacks for UCLA coming up on Saturday night as well. But they're rebuilding their entire offensive line and almost their entire wide receiver room as well. So while Iamaleava is a real talent, there's a lot of questions around who's blocking for him and who's catching passes from him. Then on the defensive side of the football, they got to replace 9 starters. They were pretty solid on defense last year. Their offense wasn't great. They were pretty solid on defense, but 9 new starters. We'll see what they do. The matchup I'm keeping an eye on is Utah's offensive line against that rebuilt defensive line for UCLA. I know this is an easy one to pick, but I'll just simply say this. We know how good Utah's offensive line is. It's one of the best in the country. There's 2 guys that will likely be first-round picks in Lomu and Fano. All 5 of those guys are likely going to be on NFL rosters next year. If Utah controls the line of scrimmage, it's going to be a really long night for the UCLA Bruins. If Utah is able to impose their will up front with the running backs and the weapons they have and quarterback Devin Dampier, it's going to be a really long night for UCLA. And I know Kyle Whittingham would love nothing more than to make it a really long night in the trenches for UCLA. 2 players I'm going to keep my eye on. One is a guy that's kind of jumped on the radar this fall, and one's a transfer into the program. On the offensive side of the football, I'm keeping my eye on J.J. Buchanan. You've heard Kyle Whittingham name-check him a number of times during fall camp. He's the freshman tight end from Las Vegas. I don't want to put too much on this young man, but some of the people on staff I've talked to say he could be Dalton Kincaid-like. And I say that because he's 6'4", and he's got a 39-inch vertical jump. He is athletic, and he has caught everything thrown his direction this fall from Devin Dampier. The tight end room's not going to be quite the same as it was in the Andy Ludwig offense. They'll still be part of it. You probably just won't see as much 3 tight end sets as we used to see with Andy. The guy on the defensive side of the football, I know I highlighted defensive lineman earlier, Blake Cotton. He appears to be the guy that will play opposite. I don't know that for sure, but he's one of those guys that are in the mix to start opposite of Scooby Davis. Again, Kyle Whittingham's name-checked him a number of times this fall. Cotton is a very physical corner. He's played some college football before, and he's been good. Don Saunders has been good as well, as has Rock Caldwell. But the guy I'm going to keep my eye on is Blake Cotton, just to see how he performs, because if Utah's locked down at that other corner spot, Scooby Davis proved himself a year ago. We know how good Smith Snowden is. The safeties of Johnson and Evans are really good. But if that spot, and if it's Cotton there, Utah's going to have another really, really good secondary this year. So, like I said, I could not be more excited about the opener coming up on Saturday night. We'll begin our pregame coverage on the network and on our flagship radio home ESPN 700 at 7 o'clock Mountain Time for the Rose Bowl, and then we'll kick it off at about 9 o'clock. Our next guest, I should say our first guest here on Crimson Corner, is a guy that played at the Rose Bowl. He was a fantastic quarterback in the late 80s and early 90s at UCLA. He actually played at the same high school as Cam Rising, Newberry Park High School. He is a color analyst, a radio host, and a great dude, too. So coming up next, we'll preview a little bit more of this Utah-UCLA game with Wayne Cook. That'll be next. Stay with us.
Here's another insider interview on the Crimson Corner podcast.
Well, I've got to say I'm really excited, obviously, to kick off this podcast, the Crimson Corner, which we'll do every week, and we'll touch on a bunch of stuff. But I'm also really excited with the start of football this week, and that we get to go back to the Rose Bowl, where we've got so many great memories, postseason, in-season. And I'm also glad to catch up to one of my good friends and guests that I've become friends with over the years and doing broadcasting. I used to have him on my radio show all the time. He's a former UCLA quarterback. He's part of the broadcast team down there, one of their analysts, Wayne Cook, with us here on the Crimson Corner today. How are you, Wayne?
I'm fantastic, and I feel the same way, Bill. We've known each other for a long time. It's always been fun, and it feels normal, right? It's like an old Pac-12 matchup. So here we go.
I'm telling you, we're excited to come down there and kick the season off this year. The last time Utah was in the Rose Bowl was not a great memory. I think they lost to UCLA. Before that, they lost to Penn State, but that's okay. Those memories aside, let's talk about the Bruins. When Utah last played UCLA, Chip Kelly was the head coach. Chip's now gone. I think he's on his second pro stop, or his second stop since leaving UCLA. He's in the pros again. So a former Bruin like yourself and a former Bruin great, and Deshaun Foster's in his second year with the program. What do we need to know right now about UCLA?
Well, this is different. Last year, we remember that Deshaun Foster inherited or he got the job late in the cycle. And we all know that, one of the most important things you can do is look at Utah. Like, when you can have consistency and have really good defensive coordinator, to use as a great example, you kind of know what you're going to get. Last year, the enemy experiment did not work, not even close. I've been saying they were scoring 16 points a game, but I was wrong. It was 18, but either way, it was still bad. And the idea is that offense, the plays took too long to get in. Sometimes the quarterback was kind of making stuff up on the fly because they didn't get the entire play in. The offense couldn't run the ball. The offensive line was a struggle. It was just really ugly. And then you have this defensive side of the ball where if you watch them, even though their statistics may have had them down a little bit, this was a good defensive team last year. Kaika Malloy in his first year as a defensive coordinator did a really, really good job. But when you're only scoring 18 points a game and you have threes and outs all the time and you're playing a gauntlet of a schedule, you're going to lose a lot of games. But yet the team still fought to end the season, with a 4-2 record. To be honest with you, those two losses could have been wins too. So they didn't quit. They played hard. But now Deshaun Foster, and this is to answer your question, he brought in the people that he wanted. I mean, he has a staff where if you watch him in practice, he is confident in this group. Tino Sinceri, the new offense coordinator, I'm telling you, this guy's brilliant. He was at Indiana last year as a quarterback coach. He's coached with Nick Saban at Alabama before. He's young, he's energetic, and if you ever listen to him in an interview, he's the most charismatic. I mean, he knows football. Like, he's coaching these guys so hard. He's brought in Nico Iamaleava, our backups, Luke Duncan, Madden Iamaleava, his younger brother, and he is coaching them hard. And he's coaching them in a way, and this is crazy, Bill, because I've always felt like your offensive coordinator should be your quarterback coach. That's how I was raised. Mine were always my quarterback coaches. And yet we haven't had that in a while. And I'm like, I don't really understand how that works. I want the coordinator to be like almost like connected mentally with their quarterback. And if you're with them every day and coaching them every day, that's what happens. So I could go and talk forever about all the coaching changes, but we only retained like 3 coaches from last year. Okay, one of them is a good one, and well, they're all good. That's why they were retained. But Deshaun Foster, man, he started making changes as soon as the season ended last year. He went out and surrounded himself with people that want to recruit, that people are going to hustle. Yes, we have a much younger staff now, not that that always matters, but there's a lot of people that are out, just crushing it on the recruiting trail, but they're coaching the heck out of these guys too. So I just feel like there's a different vibe last year. I was hopeful this year. I was hopeful last year with the Bieniemy experiment, but like looking back on it, it didn't even come close to looking like, well, you've seen it in Utah. When offense is bad and you're struggling to play it with quarterback, with line play, with running the ball, it just, no matter how good your defense is, it's just like you're fighting an uphill battle. It's really, really difficult. And so I've told people if I had $1 million to bet on anything about this team, I promise you that not only will the offense be better, it will be a lot better than it was last year. No, that's kind of an easy bet, as bad as the offense was last year. I feel very confident about that.
Well, let's talk quarterback real quick, because the quarterback got all the attention. Everything that happened in Tennessee, decided to come back to California closer to home. He's with Sinceri. It was a position you played. You've seen a lot of quarterbacks at UCLA. What do Utah fans need to know about Nico Iamaleava in this system and what he can do? We got glimpses of him last year at Tennessee as a true freshman, so he's got a year under his belt. He's in a new system, back closer to home. What are they looking to do with Nico?
Well, first of all, I wish everybody would realize, I don't care. We're going to be watching a lot of new quarterbacks in college football this year, like more than we have been. We've been spoiled with, 4th, 5th, and 6th-year guys, even some 7-year guys, right, that have been playing. And they're so good because they played so much football. And now it feels like, even like when you look at some of the top teams in the rankings in the preseason, they're all breaking in new guys. They may not be new to college, but they haven't played a lot. And so for me, Nico Iamaleava played an entire season on a playoff team. Now, I watched a lot of the games, and yeah, he had moments where he was sporadic. He had moments where he missed some throws. He had moments but so did Dylan Raiola. So did Dante Moore when he was at UCLA a few years ago, and now he's going to be at Oregon. Like, quarterbacks usually get better the more they play. Jane Daniels is a great example at Arizona State. I thought he was getting worse. Then he goes to Utah, and not Utah. He goes to Arizona State, and he becomes one of the best in the country, wins a Heisman. Now look what he's doing in the NFL. Quarterbacks should get better, but you have to have good coaching. You take a guy like Tino Sinceri, and you think about him being the quarterback coach for Curtis Rourke last year and how good he became. He ended up being a Heisman Trophy candidate. And now you've got an athletic quarterback that's going to learn to throw the ball on time. He's going to be running a college offense that's going to use the entire field. They're not going to say, hey, Nico, just look at these 2 guys and then take off and run if they're not open. He's going to get to use the entire field, and he's also a guy that, we've seen his athleticism too. So he's going to be a real dual threat quarterback who has all the ability to throw, but now he's also can use his legs as well. And I'm going to tell you this, Bill, we've revamped the running back room. We're going to have Javian Thomas. We'll start with him, but after that, we got Anthony Woods and we've got Jalen Berger. And I just feel this rededication to running the football will make Nico's life a lot easier. But I think the key to all of this is I just think the offense is just such a better college offense. I think that's going to be the key to the whole thing.
Anthony Woods was actually here at Utah a year ago, but he wasn't healthy. He was a D1 star up at Idaho, and now he's healthy and he's back closer to home in Southern California. Wayne Cook's with us here on Crimson Corner as we talk about Utah and UCLA this weekend. Defensive side of the football, I know there were some struggles there, but again, as you said, and Utah saw it last year, when your defense is on the field a lot and having to carry the load, they get worn down. Last year, very good linebacking core. They're having to replace some guys there. Same thing in the secondary. What do we need to know about the Bruin defense?
So you nailed that perfectly because it is. It's just UCLA's defense was good last year. And Carson Schlesinger was a tackling machine. Cam Medrano is one of the fastest line. Matter of fact, at the combine, he was the fastest linebacker. Femi Oladejo was coming off the edge. So UCLA went pretty hard in the transfer portal at a lot of positions. But really, the front seven, and you guys know this. I mean, like when you want to be a good physical football team, you have to be good up front in the trenches. And Gary Smith and Keanu Williams are both guys that have played a lot of football in the past, but they got hurt last year. And they're both healthy and hungry. And it's fun when you talk to these guys. And I know you've done this over the years. When guys get hurt, they are, especially if they're real football players, they're not just guys that like to stay there on the team. They cannot wait to get back out there. So they busted their butt in getting their strength and athleticism, and they are healthy as can be. So I like where we're at D-tackle, and there's other guys too. I won't bore you with all the names, but we're good on the inside. I feel like we're solid. We're bringing in a couple of transfers. And listen, you know, I'm not dumb. I read the magazines. I know that the offensive line for Utah is the strength of this team. I mean, they're absolutely got tackles that, and one of our new Anthony Jones Jr., one of our new transfers from Michigan State has already said, I matched up with this guy. I just can't wait for the opportunity because they know the names of the guys on the other team because they're going to be All-Americans. They're going to be high draft choices. So when you have players that are so excited about the opportunity and Nico, I got to work on his name before game one, but Davalier, him and Anthony Jones to go along with our two guys from last year in Busick and Apu. I feel like we've got four guys, probably even more that could come off the edge. But here's where I'm going to have you guys watch. The linebacking core. We are so deep and so athletic. John Vaughns has been in school for feels like a million years. He was playing baseball.
He played baseball too, yeah.
He played baseball too, and this is the first year his baseball eligibility ran out. So he got to go through a spring practice. And as he told me, John said, I actually finally have a football body. I'm not a baseball player playing football. I have a football body. So him and Jalen Woods look like they're going to start. But, man, we've got like 4 or 5 other guys that are going to play. We have a freshman in Scott Taylor that I told him at the dinner that we went to the other night. I go, dude, I always find a freshman that I like that I think is going to be somebody. And he's already running with the twos. He's just a big, athletic, strong linebacker, and I can't wait to watch him play. And then here's the question mark, Bill. The secondary is almost all new. Even the guys that were on the team that are returning haven't played much. But everybody I talk to and everything I've seen feels like, because Coach Demetric Martin has brought in a whole bunch of recruits. These guys can play, and everybody thinks the secondary is going to be better and deeper. There's competition. A lot of guys are going to play. We're more athletic. We're faster. So they're pretty excited. So Kaika Malloy's got a lot of weapons to work with. I feel good about the front seven. I am telling you, I'm not sure about the secondary because I haven't seen it in action yet. But what I've seen in practice is very promising.
Well, we'll see what happens. Wayne Cook's with us for a couple of more minutes here on Crimson Corner. I don't know. First games in college football are hard to predict. We watched the games over the weekend. Heck, UNLV almost lost to a 1AA program, but it happens sometimes. Do you have an expectation of what you're expecting to see for the Bruins on Saturday, being a first game?
First of all, and I know you agree with this, I mean, this is a sneaky good game. This is the game that it's not even sneaky. It's only sneaky to people that don't know football.
I just hope they can stay up on the East Coast to see it, Wayne.
It's exactly right. The 8 o'clock kickoff out here is they're going to have to start watching the game at 11. But the idea is what a better way to end your day. I mean, we've grown up like watching Pac-12 after dark, or even like Mountain West games or whatever happens out here on the West Coast. And for me, a lot of times that's what I watch going to bed. Obviously, it's a lot later back east, so I get that they don't stay up that late. But UCLA, Utah is a big matchup. And a lot of people, I've watched a lot of shows, and they should be doing this. They're picking Utah to be that team that could win the conference, could end up getting a playoff spot. What a great opportunity for UCLA, though. In the era where you can bring in enough transfers, and if you get the right coaches, and I think UCLA has done that part. I don't know 100% on the players yet because I haven't seen it. But if you can win a game like Utah at home, everybody's going to start talking about Nico Imaleava. Everybody's going to go, hey, who's that running back that used to be at Cal that opportunity? And I can promise you the confidence is extremely high. And this UCLA.
Before I let you go on this one today, last year was Utah's first year in the Big 12. Last year was UCLA's first year in the Big 10. How did it go over with you guys and the Bruin faithful and overall the first year heading into the second year?
Well, I don't know about you, but I never bought into how was the Pac-12? I'm still mad about the Pac-12 being disbanded. Well, because the last couple of years of the Pac-12 were awesome.
Yeah.
And the teams were so good. We had so many good players. We were competing at the highest level. I mean, Oregon went on and won their conference regular season. Arizona State went on and won their conference regular season. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, to me, it kills me. So I expected Utah to be a lot better. I know you guys did too, because I know what Kyle Whittingham can do. UCLA, with the schedule we had and with the turnover with coaching, to end up ending the way we did with that schedule after getting kind of beat up for 5 straight games, to end up 4-2 to close it out. We should have beat Minnesota and competed with Washington and USC. I feel okay about it. What I don't like is when everybody's like, oh, the Big Ten, that's real football. I'm like, you know what? Screw you. That's how I've always felt. Yeah, you're so great. It's the same couple of teams that win these conferences every year. So I'm ready for it. I hope UCLA can find a way to become a consistently winning team. We have sporadic winning seasons, but we need to become more consistent. And I hope Deshaun Foster can do that.
That's my buddy Wayne Cook. I'm going to get to see he and Matt and Josh and the entire crew down at the Rose Bowl coming up on Saturday night. We'll get our power naps in and be ready to go for a little Pac-12 After Dark reunion show. Hey, thanks for doing this. Really appreciate it, and I'll see you on Saturday.
Yep, can't wait, buddy. Should be a great game.
That's Wayne Cook with us here on the first edition of the Crimson Corner podcast. Back with more ahead. Stay with us.
You're listening to the Crimson Corner podcast with the voice of the Utes, Bill Riley.
A big thank you to my friend Wayne Cook. He and Josh Lewin and Matt Stevens, they'll be on the call on the UCLA side of things Saturday night at the Rose Bowl. Really, really appreciate him and his insights on things. Wayne and I have known each other for a long time, so I appreciate him doing that. Football's big. It's Saturday night. It's late, but there's a lot going on campus this weekend as well. Utah volleyball. They open their season this weekend at the John M. Huntsman Center. Beth Lanier's back for her, get this, her 36th year as head coach. You think about that. She is one of the longest tenured coaches in NCAA volleyball and really in NCAA athletics at all. She's got a really good team. She's got 2 stars coming back. Cameron Gabadlo, who was an All-American a year ago, likely to be an All-American again this year, outside hitter, and a middle this year by the name of Emery Moyai. Used to be Satawala. She got married a Utah football player, and now she's Emery Moyai. That's where the foundation begins. But she's got a lot of really talented players, but this will be the first time to really see them. They had the red and white scrimmage last weekend. The Utah Classic is this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the Huntsman Center. They'll welcome in Lafayette, Dayton, and Washington State. Dayton was an NCAA tournament team a year ago, and they were really good. Washington State has traditionally been a really good program in volleyball, and Lafayette comes in out of the Patriot League. So you'll have 3 matches coming up on Friday, 2 matches coming up on Saturday, and 1 match coming up on Sunday. You could get up to the Huntsman Center to see them. Go to UtahUtes.com for the full schedule of events and what time all the matches start. And if you can't make it up for any reason, the volleyball matches will be on ESPN+. So you can catch all the volleyball all year long on ESPN+. just this Utah volleyball team about 2 weeks ago went down and scrimmaged. It was a scrimmage exhibition match, really, against the University of Texas. And if you know anything about women's volleyball, Texas is perennially a top 5 program. They held their own, lost in 5 sets to Texas, but held their own. Gave Beth a lot of what she thought she needed to be confirmed about her team. So this weekend kicks it off with the Utah Classic at the Huntsman Center. Again, Friday, 3 matches. Saturday, 2 matches. Sunday, 1 match. And the good news is, with Utah football playing at 9 o'clock at night, you've got plenty of time to see volleyball and do whatever else you have to do on Saturday. So it should be a good one. And again, if you can't make it up, ESPN Plus is where you'll find them. We'll talk some volleyball on this. This could be a good year in the Big 12. The Big 12 is stacked in volleyball again this year, but a lot like on the football side of things, the difference between the preseason top team and maybe the preseason number 6 team, very small margin. So it could be a really good and competitive year for Utah volleyball in the Big 12. It's also a big week this week for Utah soccer. Hideki Nakata's team is off to a 2-1 start. Got a really nice road win to open the year against Gonzaga. Tough setback at UVU, but bounced back with a win over the weekend against Westminster. They'll be on the road at Utah State on Thursday. Utah State was a top 10 program at one point in time last year, and then a huge one on Sunday. Sunday night, I'll actually have the call of this on ESPN Plus, myself and Jay Nolly. They'll welcome NC State in out of the ACC, traditionally a very good program of the ACC. So if you get a chance this weekend, with everything else going on, long Labor Day weekend, get out to see a little Utah volleyball, but also come up to Ute Field on Sunday night. It's an excellent setting, and it should be a terrific opponent in NC State. But again, they also play at Utah State coming up on Thursday. So that's kind of what else is going on around campus. We'll highlight some of this stuff. We'll have great guests throughout the year, but could not be more excited to do this. I want to thank my producer on this Crimson Corner debut edition, Nick Bowlerjack, for sitting in with me here today. For any and all information on Utah athletics, UtahUtes.com. You can also download, by the way, the new Utah 360 app. It's got links to everything you need as well for Utah athletics. And I also want to shout out our sponsor here on the podcast. That's doTERRA. Terrific sponsor, a great corporate sponsor of University of Utah Athletics. A big thanks to doTERRA for sponsoring the podcast today. And again, just one more reminder for you. Football Saturday night, 9 o'clock Mountain Time for the Rose Bowl. Big Fox has the TV coverage. Just turn down the volume on that television and stream us on our streams or on our flagship radio home, ESPN 700. Myself, Scott Mitchell, Stevenson Sylvester, and our entire crew will be there as Utah opens the season against their old pal for the Pac-12, the UCLA Bruins. Thanks for tuning in to our debut edition of Crimson Corner. We'll be back next week with a lot more on Utah football and Utah athletics. So for Nick Bowlerjack, I'm Bill Riley saying, go Utes.
You've been listening to the Crimson Corner podcast with Bill Riley. Bill is back next week with the latest on Utes. Download previous Crimson Corner episodes on all major podcast platforms.